culmination of your years in, or your years in New York, where it's like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, so part of the actor's existence is this a roller coaster of emotions where like you're feeling good about everything you're doing and you're feeling like you're putting in all this great work, and then all of a sudden you just slip into a depression. Mm-hmm. And and you question everything. And so that's like, I would regularly like question, why am I doing this? And I mean, and there were phases. Like one time I realized I was doing it, as I mentioned before, to prove it to these people who underestimated me basically my whole life in many ways, because I never felt that cool, and I never understood like how popularity works and why certain people were popular and other people weren't. And like, just because I'm like, I didn't even care about being popular. I was just like, just hang out with me. Mm-hmm. But I realized that a lot of my motivation was to like prove it to those people. So like, I don't know, if they like Googled me or like stalked me on Facebook, they would be jealous or something. I don't know. And then I realized I don't care about these people. I never go to their Facebooks to see what their life is like, because I don't, why should I care what they think about me at all? So I'm like, all right, if I'm going to do this, it has to be for me. And I do love acting. So I did it for the love of acting for a while, but I think I just had many moments over years, and it all kind of culminated on that morning where it just like sunk in, and I just didn't fight it at all and accepted it, that like my day-to-day life as an actor was not congruent with who I am as a person. Okay. It wasn't acting in and of itself. Like, I love acting, and I trained really hard, and I got my craft up, and like I felt very confident in my skill set as an actor, to the point where like I would trust it, which was a huge thing. So many actors are talented, but they're so nervous and they don't trust their own skill set that's why they're, will fumble auditions or like come across really, really stiff. And it's really when you trust your skill set that you're able to like not care if it's right or wrong. Like, because there is really no like hard set right or wrong. There's different approaches, and like if someone's like, hey, maybe go this direction, and you're like, all right, and then you play with it that direction, and it's all about kind of like how you play with it. And when I learned to trust my skill set, the responses I got in my acting, and like when it was the right project, I would book and people would just love my work. But I only got to do that, if I was lucky, 2 or 3 times a year. And the rest of the year, I'm playing Candy Crush on my phone while I submit for background gigs, or I'm on a background gig and I'm playing Candy Crush on my phone, waiting for them to need us to walk from point A to point B over and over again.
So you're good at Candy Crush?
I'm embarrassingly good at Candy Crush. I think I'm at level like 1350.
I don't know what that means, but that sounds impressive.
It means that I'm a sad human being who
is awesome at Candy Crush.
It's really awesome at one particular like swapping game in particular. But the morning that I decided to change careers, I was like, all right, if I'm going to change a career, it needs to be in a field where there's high demand for women. So that's STEM. I could totally do that. I was good at math. Like, science was always interesting to me. My dad, who is, he is a computer engineer on the hardware side, has always told me that I had the mind of an engineer. And then I'd be like, well, Dad, you're really good at acting when you help out my dance studio. And he's like, fine.
Well played.
All right. But yeah. And then, there was another friend of mine who I was following on Instagram, and we were like mutual, like we were like friend of friends who had seen each other at like an event once or twice. You've interviewed her, Chloe Condon. Mm-hmm. So she was out in San Francisco, and I thought she was like killing it because she was like booking leads out in San Francisco, which is like there's only a couple venues. So the fact that she's like booking all these leads is like great. So I thought she was doing really well, but then I start seeing her posting things about like studying for this coding test and like holding up a certificate with her graduating class. And then she's in Thailand giving talks with her partner. And I'm like, what happened to your life? So I reached out to my little brother, who he's a game developer.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, because I was like, I heard that there's always like a need for coders. And I know that it's not like something that works for everyone, but I was thinking that maybe I would try that out because I really want to shift gears with my life. And he was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And he sent me, a free online tutorial. It was like Khan Academy's like animation with JavaScript. So I was like, I remember the moment I made the little ellipse that was supposed to represent a spaceship go from one corner of the screen to the other corner of the screen. And I was sipping a Bloody Mary at like this bar up the street, and I was like, yes, I'm a god. I'm not dramatic at all.
Yes, not at all.
No. But it was this moment where like someone like me, like I 2 or 3 years, no. It was like 3 years ago. I discovered that I have ADD because my older brother has like been like, he has ADD and he's been treated for it his whole life. And I was just like absent-minded. And my mom used to say, if your head isn't attached, you'd forget it and stuff. But I really learned that I had ADD because it was like back to back, like my roommate's birthday party and then Pride in New York was the next day. And so we went out for his birthday, and then I was getting up and getting ready for Pride, and I was like dying because we had like 3 hours of sleep. And his friend was like, here, take an Adderall. And I was just like, what's this going to do to me? And my best friend was like, oh my God, you're going to be so annoying, but it'll be fun. and I took it. And the whole day I was just like, oh, this is so lovely. I'm having a great time with you guys.
I'm able to focus, and it's very clear now. I feel very calm.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm having a lovely afternoon. I remember the girl I was dating at the time was like really mad at me for something and like wanted to pick a fight with me. And I just was like calmly like, no, that's kind of irrational. Like, I was very clear with you.
Wow.
The next day I called my mom and I was like, I had ADD and you never treated me for it. She goes, you did well in school. Like, why would I care? I didn't need to medicate you. You were fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, but the reason why that was significant to me is because I found something that I could like focus on for hours. Like, no, I will solve this algorithm. And it was really engaging. And so I reached out to Chloe and I was like, hey, I think I really want to do this. And she's like, that's amazing. Like, super stoked. She's like the most supportive human being ever. And I think she's doing really great things for women in this industry. But, she, told me about Grace Hopper in New York, which is, a coding boot camp. That is part of Full Stack Academy. It's the same curriculum, but it's geared specifically towards women and non-binary individuals to help increase diversity within tech, because the school recognized that their women and non-binary individuals in particular stopping their life to invest this money in a boot camp to like not work for 3 months and just study and then go on the job hunt in this brand new industry. They're usually going through a career change, so it's incredibly risky to just drop everything and do that. Sometimes they have families or they take on more responsibility for the home life. And so investing in that is really that time and money is really scary, and it can prevent a lot of people from taking the plunge. So they really wanted to do something to be part of the change, and they created the Grace Hopper program, which has a really unique deferred tuition portion. So basically, like, you put in your deposit before the program starts, but you don't start paying the school back for your tuition until after you secure a job.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing, and it's a risk that they're taking on, but it was something that, like, regularly throughout the program, as we're stressed out and freaking out because it's it's a lot, and it feels very, very overwhelming until you really hit your stride. And even then there's times when like you just have a complete meltdown, but always we would remind each other, like, they are financially invested in us. They would not have admitted us if they did not believe that we will have careers as software developers. And so, so I studied a lot. I didn't get in my first time. But then I did like a night course with them. It was like for a month, just to ramp up your JavaScript skills. And since I already studied like 3 other online tutorials, I was much more prepared than a lot of people in the class. But what it gave me was an opportunity to, like, in the middle of a lecture, raise my hand and be like, but why? Like, why this situation? And like, and I loved it because, like, my brain, to understand things, wants to, like, put all the pieces together and understand, like, why it works the way that it works, so that when I want to change it, all I have to do is, like, some fancy manipulation and I can bend it to my will. So, like, that's how I like to understand things.
It's like you like to play in God, which is awesome.
Yeah.
With the entrance exam to get into this, what is that like?
Okay, so Full Stack Academy has, like, it's the same entrance versus whether you're going into the regular immersive or the Grace Hopper program. But in order to guarantee that their students have the skill set to really undertake something that is that intense, they want you to have at least an intermediate level of JavaScript skills. Okay. They used to do it in both Ruby. Well, the first cohort they did in Ruby and then switched halfway through into JavaScript. But since you're also learning a full stack of technology and learning about, like, how the back end works and, like, theories of design and, like, middleware. Like, the first time I introduced middleware, my mind, like, exploded. I was, like, not able to grasp what that was. And you're learning everything so fast. I think in 1 week we went from learning, like, what SQL is and how to use it to SQLize, which is a JavaScript framework for writing SQL in Node.js, to Express, so that we could serve from our back. Like, we learned, like, all of our backends set up in a week, less than a week, like, just day after day after day. You learn all of these things, and then you're tested on it, and then you have 6 weeks to learn the full stack, and then 6 weeks to, like, build apps in group projects. And it's a lot, and I lost track of where I was going.
Well, so during your time in this boot camp, did you ever say, I made a mistake, I don't want to be here anymore, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this because I don't understand what's going on, or question your involvement in this?
Yeah, no, there would definitely be times when I would be so frustrated because, like, maybe I'm working on, like, we used to have assessments that we could do over the weekends just to make sure that we're on track, or, like, help us see the parts that we're not quite getting. It was like, yes, it was only like 5 days a week, but, like, it really was like my whole life for 3 months. Like, but we would do them. I remember one time, like, all the work that I did, and it was, like, completely broken. And I just started, like, crying in this coffee shop with my girlfriend because I was, like, we were, like, having, like, a work date at a cafe. And she, like, made me stop and, like, go for a walk. And she's just like, you're learning so much and you're doing, like, so many new things. Like, and I was just like, I've been working on this for hours and, like, I'm gonna have to start all over again. And she's just like, no, you're doing amazing things. Let's take a walk. Let's just get your mind off of it and you can revisit it, or, like, schedule something with one of the fellows who will help you out. And it helped a lot, but it really, what would happen is I would just feel so overwhelmed that I would just, like, at how fast everything was happening, that I would just be like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can grasp enough that it will, like, I will feel as in control as I like to feel over this subject, or if it will, like, I'll just, like, lose my way. But then really I I would remember that, like, what I was doing it for. I was doing it so that, like, I could go home more often. And I was doing it so that I could, you know, like, have my own apartment. And I was doing it so that I could, like, have something to do every day that was a challenge, that, like, engaged me, that, like, so I'm doing it so I'm not spending my life